Hi guys, welcome back to another video in the AAP-01 series, and in this video we're going to be installing the last part I've got at the moment, which is the Action Army CNC trigger here in red, which looks absolutely fantastic. Very much race car part looking, and it's adjustable so we can set it as well, so we can get that take up on the standard trigger. If you see how much take up there is and the reset, we're going to get that functioning better. Let's get this thing fitted. I do have some more funky parts on the way. I've got a ghost ring sight set coming in for this upper, and they do like a compensator to match, so I've ordered that as well. I've also ordered a complete new upper. We're going to be doing a separate upper to this, so we can chop and change them. So I'll be releasing a bit more information on that when it arrives. It's probably going to be the upper that I run instead of this one now, because I do like the look of it. But I digress. Let's get into it. Let's get this trigger fitted. So what we're going to do, we're going to pop the upper receiver off here, and we're going to take the hammer assembly back out. So we're going to tap this out here. Let's pull these two pins out, like so. Once two pins are out, we're going to pop the hammer assembly up. This will be different if you're not running a HPA kit like I am. So all we're going to do is we're going to lever this up slightly from the back, let the button fall out, and we're going to pull the hammer assembly. Let's make sure everything's reset, like so. As we pull the hammer, we're also pushing the trigger as well, which gives us a little bit more wiggle room when taking these parts out. Once that's out, we need to take the trigger assembly out. So we're going to take a 2mm Allen key. We're going to remove the two side screws first. So those two countersunk screws are a 2mm. One in the centre is also a 2mm. Which I think is threaded because the plastic's very weak, which doesn't want to come out at all. So let's tap the pin out. Push that out all the way, like so. And then we're going to push this up. And yeah, that mounting point on the lower has failed. Now this wasn't over torqued at all. I think it's just, you know, weak plastic, but it doesn't really matter. It's held in with the pin and the two side screws, so it's not a massive issue. I'm just going to leave it there for now. And we pull all these gubbins out. So we have the trigger bar and we have the trigger. And then what we're going to do, we're going to punch the higher of the two pins out on the trigger. Let's zoom you in here. We've got two pins here. We're going to punch the one that's slightly higher. So have we got a tool that's small enough to do that? Oh, it's fairly easy. 1.5mm Allen key. If you're looking down the top of the trigger like this, you want to push it left to right, because on this side it's got some knurling on there to keep it in place. We'll pull that pin out, pull the trigger bar out. That is the old trigger. You do get some fixing bits with this. And I like that, coming from like the old days where I used to fit a lot of Guns Modified triggers to like Maruis and WEs. You used to get this part, there was like a U-shaped spring which was a pain to get in place, and that pin. So it's very nice that they've installed this already, and you don't need to do anything else. You can just pop that main pin in. So we'll line that up here. We'll pop the pin in on the same path. So line that up, pop the pin in there, went straight in, and we're going to have to do a bit of hammering, so I apologise. So that is installed. Just make sure this turns nice and freely here. We don't want it to foul up. So we've got a nice turn on that there. And then going back to the old days, there's two ways that you can adjust these little grub screws. So you can either fit it in the front, which is a pain in the arse to change. So what I suggest doing, which is how a lot of companies tell you to do it nowadays, is fitting it from the rear. It's a 1.5mm Allen key. And we just wind that in a good part of the way. And then when it's in the gun, what we can do is we can wind that out and it'll adjust how far this sits under pre-tension. So let's get it installed. We need the spring for the bolt release. Set that in place. Need that to sit alongside the trigger. Move that out of the way. Like so. I'm going to set the spring on the housing like that, and then I'm just going to lever it round and situate it in place like that. This is going to want to jump out here, which it has done. It's not a problem, just take your time. Like so. Set the trigger in place like that. And then what we'll do first, we'll put the main pin in, make sure everything's set in place. There we go, that's popped all the way through. So we put the main pin in there, let's tap this in. Before I put the front mounting screws in, we'll set the hammer assembly back in. So spring, disconnector, it's going to be a little tighter because the triggers can't travel as far. There we go, so we're just going to pop the assembly back into place. Like that. We're going to pop the button back on. Quickly just push these pins in, we'll tap them in just a moment. And there you can see where we can pull the trigger and we can adjust that screw. So trigger's set. No, it's not. We've got a bit more take up that we can remove, so just be warned that when you do more take up, obviously the more you take up you remove, the trigger safety is probably not going to work, so we'll back that out slightly. So we've still got a bit more we can remove. Let's get a slightly thinner Allen key so we can wind this out as we do it. Still a bit more to go. I mean, we could leave it there and just have it, apologies there, the video cut out. So we could probably take up a little bit more, or we could leave it there. So I'm probably going to do, let's try it one more quarter of a turn. So yeah, it's right there now. Probably go a little bit more. And what you want to do is just try it, set it, change it, and just get that sweet spot of where you want your trigger. So that the travel is shortening and shortening. But what we want to make sure is that once everything's cycled, it has enough room to reset. So I'll probably say just a tiny bit more when we're there. Yeah, a little bit more. I'm being really fussy now. Yeah, I think that's about where I want it. We'll quickly pop these mounting screws back in now that's sorted. Just in case we had to take it apart if anything wasn't lining up properly. We pop these two housing screws back in. And then we'll put the upper back on. And zoom you out again here. So the trigger's looking much better. You can hear that reset, like that click is probably going to do my head in. Yeah, I think that's going to be fine. So that is how to install a trigger. This has been the Action Army one, of course. What we'll just do while we remember is tap those pins back in. Like so. And we now have a very souped up AAP-01 that shoots very fast, got a knob trigger, got the steel hammer in there, so that's not going to cause us any issues. We've got some more external parts on the way, which I'm of course going to cover. We're also going to build a separate upper, so we can have choices. We can chop and change between the two. Thank you very much for tuning this video. See you in the next one. And as always, you can find the full playlist up in the top right hand corner throughout the video, or you can find it on the YouTube channel. Thank you very much.